We'll ask our board members to take their seats, please. Yeah, if they're not going to make it, we're going to go ahead and get started. Let's see who's who. Board Member Julie Berkowitz will lead us in the pledge and introduce our clergy for the morning.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning. This morning I'm pleased to introduce Deacon Philip Juarez with the Cherry Hill Church of Christ, Joliet. Deacon Philip grew up in Joliet and attended Joliet School. He graduated from Robert Morris in 2003 with a bachelor's in business. Deacon Phil has been a member of Cherry Hill Church of Christ for over 12 years and a deacon for about 5 years. Cherry Hill Church is in the heart of Joliet and has about 100 active members. At the church, Deacon Phil shares devotionals, prayers, and sermons with the congregation. Deacon Phil is married to Valerie, and they have 2 sons. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for the introduction. Certainly a pleasure to be here with each one of you today. If you would, let's bow for a word of prayer. Most gracious and Heavenly Father, we come to you this beautiful morning in prayer. We're so thankful and grateful that we're able to come here and assemble as free people without fear of persecution. We pray that you bless our elected board members here with us today. We pray that you be with their hearts and minds as they begin this day and with the decisions that they have to make. Father, we know that not all members always agree, but we pray that you help them communicate better with each other so that the decisions they make help the people in our communities and our county. Sometimes things can get dicey, Father. We know this, and we know sometimes we can come further apart when we should get closer, and we just pray that you can be with our hearts so that we can find some commonality, some common ground, because we are here for the people. We pray this. Also, we pray that you be with our police officers, our firefighters, our first responders, Father, as they have dangerous jobs at times, and they're there to protect and serve us, and we just pray that you protect them and their families. We pray that you be with our servicemen and women who are here and abroad, fighting for freedom and liberty for our country. We pray that you protect them and just watch over them and keep them safe so they can come home to their families. We pray that you be with our county staff members. They also work very hard in keeping the county government going, so we just pray that you be with them and their families. As always, Father, your will be done, not ours. And we just pray that you be with us this day. In Jesus' name that we pray. Amen.
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 Okay. Madam Clerk, call the roll, please.
Ferry. Frizzalone.
Here.
Newquist.
Here.
Ogala.
Here.
Cook. Mustis.
Here.
Rice. Tyson.
Here.
Harris.
Here.
Trainier.
Present.
Fritz.
Present.
Mueller.
Here.
Gould.
Here.
Van Dyne.
Here.
Balich.
Here.
Brooks.
Yeah.
Parker.
Here.
Ventura. Dollinger. Markham.
Here.
Berkowitz.
Here.
Cowan.
Here.
Tuminello.
Here.
Weigel.
Here.
Krolitis.
Here.
Winfrey.
Here.
23 present, 3 absent.
We have a quorum. Motion to place on file certificate of publication.
Second.
Ready? Frizzalone?
Yes.
Newquist?
Yes.
Ogala?
Yes.
Mustis? Rice? Tyson?
Yes.
Harris?
Yes.
Trainier?
Yes.
Fritz? Mueller?
Yes.
Gould? Van Dyne?
Yes.
Balich?
Yes.
Brooks?
Yes.
Parker?
Yes.
Ventura?
Yes.
Markham?
Yes.
Berkowitz? Cowan?
Yes.
Tumanello?
Yes.
Weigel? Carlitis?
Yes.
Winfrey?
Yes.
23 affirmative.
Okay. We have minutes from the recessed meeting of January 16th.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Markham, second by Ms. Newquist. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We have the executive session of the county board from January 16th as well.
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Van Dyne, second by Mr. Markham. All those in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Madam Clerk, would you acknowledge the elected officials and media?
Yep. Today, we have Auditor Duffy Blackburn, County Clerk Lauren Staley Ferry, County Board Speaker Denise Winfrey, Recorder of Deeds Karen Stukel, State's Attorney James Glasgow. And for the media, we have Alice Fabre from Southtown, Nick Ryer from the Farmers Weekly Review, Alex Ortiz from the Herald News, and Megan Horsted from the Times Weekly. And Don Dickinson from the Joliet City Council.
Thank you. This morning, we come together to honor a member who has fallen. One of ours has gone on, and we ask that you stand in recognition of Margie Woods. I ask the family to join me down front, please. Margie's husband Floyd lights the candle that represents Margie's spirit. We ask that all those who worked, served with Margie come down now and take the candle, please. We have some others. I ask each of you to light the candle for Margie's spirit in honor of what she meant to you.
We have resolutions from the Senate and the House of Representatives.
This is a Senate proclamation presented by Senator Pat McGuire in remembrance of Margie Pearl Gavin Woods, presented this 20th day of February 20th, 20. Whereas Margie Pearl Gavin Woods, affectionately known as Itty, was the first group of women hired at the Caterpillar Company, completing 30 years at Caterpillar while simultaneously serving 24 years as a Will County board member and Forest Preserve Commissioner. Whereas she was elected in Will County Board in 1980, serving on numerous county board committees, including 14 years on the Executive Committee, 18 years on the Judicial Committee, and in 2003 was elected by her peers to be the leader of the Democrat caucus. In 2008, she had the great honor to serve as a superdelegate at the Democratic National Convention, where she cast her vote for soon-to-be elected President Barack Obama. Margie served as chairman of the Health Community Committee for Silver Cross Hospital, a position she held until her death, where she will be remembered by the community as a true leader and trailblazer, where she will be missed by her beloved husband of 49 years, Floyd Woods Sr., her sister Denise, her 8 children, 26 grandchildren, 35 great-grandchildren, and 2 great-great-grandchildren, and numerous nieces and nephews, and an insurmountable amount of friends. Proclaimed by the Senate of the 100th General Assembly of the State of Illinois that we honor of Margie Pearl Gavin Woods and her lifetime work on behalf of our community, and be further proclaimed that a suitable copy of this resolution be presented to her husband, Floyd Sr., as a symbol of our esteem and respect. Senator Pat McGuire. And from a personal note, I had the honor to serve with Margie in the late 80s. And when I was talking to Jimmy Blackburn today, he kind of summed it up really well. He was her seatmate in his first term, and they sat down and she said to him, Jimmy, this is what we're going to do. When I have something in my district, you're going to support me. When you have something in your district, I'm going to support you. That was Margie's philosophy. She basically says, we're going to work together. And she's a strong lady, and she was one of the kind, a trailblazer, needless to say, back in the 80s. She was definitely a trailblazer. So on behalf of Senator McGuire and the Senate, I'd like to present this to Mr. Woods.
Now to the House of Representatives.
Good morning, everyone. This is House Resolution Number 729, offered by Representative Lawrence Walsh, Jr. Whereas the members of the Illinois House of Representatives are saddened to learn of the passing of Margie Gavin Woods of Joliet, who passed away on January 29, 2020. And whereas Margie lived in Joliet, where she raised her 6 children with her husband of 36 years, Floyd Woods. And whereas Margie Woods served as county commissioner representing District 8 from 1980 until her retirement in 2008. And whereas Margie Woods was the first black woman to become minority speaker of the Will County Board. And whereas Margie Woods worked at Caterpillar in the machine shop and was a career long member of the Machine Shop Coalition of Black Trade Unionists. Later in life, she attended Lewis University College of Business and advanced her career. And whereas Margie Wood served St. Paul Missionary Baptist Church in the kitchen ministry, as chairwoman of the Building Fund Committee and as president of the Senior Usher Ministry. She also served in the branch of the NAACP as deputy registrar for Black Women Hookup, as precinct committee woman, and as vice president of the Will County Democrats. And whereas Margie Woods was a community leader, a trailblazer, and a mentor to those who knew her, they described her as being long-serving, dutiful, and involved. Therefore, be it resolved by the House of Representatives of the 101st General Assembly of the State of Illinois that we mourn the passing of Margie Gavin Woods and extend our sincere condolences to her family and friends and all that knew and loved her. And be it further resolved that a suitable copy of this resolution be presented to the family of Margie Woods as an expression of our deepest sympathy, adopted by the House of Representatives on February 18th, 2020. And I just will add as well that I had the pleasure of serving with Margie, and one of my most memorable times with her was one of our trips to Washington. And Margie was never one to let anything stop her from doing what she knew to be her responsibility. And so we were on one of our very quick trips to Washington. Margie couldn't walk as fast as she could be pushed in a wheelchair, so I had the honor of pushing her around Washington. And she was apologizing every step of the way. And I'm like, believe me, this is a great honor for me, so don't even think about it. Because just her being there and her drive to still continue to be involved and not let something keep her from doing her following through on what she considered to be her responsibility was just a great lesson to me. So, thank you.
The resolution of the Will County Board.
Let me see, I think I'll be okay. Yeah, that helps. Yeah, I don't see very well, so, I need light, I need big font, so. In honor of memory of Margie Woods, whereas it is the desire of the Will County Board and the Will County Executive to express their sympathy to the family of Margie Woods, who passed on January 29th, 2020, and to pay tribute to the outstanding service and rendered by Mrs. Woods to the people of Will County. Whereas Margie Woods was elected to the District 8 on the Will County Board in November of 1980 and served until her retirement in 2008. And whereas Margie and Floyd Woods were married for 48 years and raised 6 children in Joliet. Margie was the first group of women hired at Caterpillar, working there 30 years while at the same time serving on the Will County Board for 28 years. Whereas Margie Woods was the second black woman elected to the Will County Board and the first black woman to hold a leadership role on the board, serving as a minority leader from 2003 to 2008. She also served on the Budget Review, Capital Improvement, Executive, Health, Insurance and Personnel, Judicial, Land Use and Development, and Legislative and Policy and Rules Committees. And whereas Margie had the distinct honor to be a superdelegate in a Democratic National Convention, casting her vote for soon after elected President Barack Obama. Whereas Margie proudly served Will County residents with her work on the Forest Reserve District, CDBG Advisory Board, Workforce Development, NACO, North District Chairman of National Black County Officials, National Democratic Black Caucus Women of NACO, Vice President of the Labor and Employment Steering Committee, Will County Consortium of Care, United Way Allocation Committee, Habitat for Humanity, Will County Adult Entertainment Commission, and President of the Illinois Association of Conservation and Forest Preserve Districts. And whereas, after her retirement, Margie continued to volunteering in the community, leading the Silver Cross Hospital Healthy Communities Commission. And whereas Margie was a tremendous example of how to be involved in the community and make a difference, she was remembered as a trailblazer for her service in county government. Therefore, it be resolved that the Will County Board and the Will County Executive hereby offer their condolences to the family of Margie Woods. Be it further resolved that the Will County Board and the Will County Executive, and on behalf of the citizens of Will County, express their gratitude for her many years of service and declare with deepest and sincerity that she will be truly missed. I also had the opportunity to serve with Margie for 16 years. And I can tell you, I'll be looking at the Woods family, because she probably did the same thing to you all. She took me to school more than once. You know, when we would go to conventions, there's no person I'd rather be with than Margie. Partly because she knew everybody, so I got to know them too. So she really worked at it hard. You know, we can say in all these resolutions that you heard today, you hear that she was a trailblazer, and that she was. But let me tell you more than that. Your mother, your grandmother, Floyd, your wife, she was a difference maker. And that's something that not many people can say. And she was a difference maker, not only locally, but I can tell you, because I've seen her on that national stage, she was a difference maker nationally. She was truly an unselfish person, and we'll never know what Margie really did. And you know why? Because she never bragged on herself. She never said, look, this is what I got done. All that was important to her is that it got done. And even when things didn't go our way the first time, she'd say to me, well, we'll be bringing this back. I go, I'm sure you will, Margie. And she stuck with it till she was successful. And I like to say, she wasn't always there up front. You know, the people who do all the work aren't necessarily the people that are up front and center cutting that ribbon. She was the person who really established a tremendous record in getting things done. There won't be another Margie. You know, hopefully there can be another new person, but I really truly believe, you know, Floyd, your wife, as your mother, your grandmother, they broke the mold. I don't think there'll be another, but I just want you to know I feel she was a great woman, and I'm just going to leave it at that. She was a real difference maker. Thank you, everyone.
Pause and remember.
As we close out, many county board members in front, you know I did not serve with Margie. I came in a way after she did. However, at the funeral, Mr. James Brown said it very well. Margie Woods had two offices, her kitchen table and her front porch. And I served with her on the front porch. Ladies and gentlemen, would you join me in memories of prayer like this? Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, as we forgive those that trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, and deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. Thank you so much.
Denise, if I could have a moment before I turn on my light. I want each of you to know that the presence of Margie Woods in this room was a gift to me. A gift that taught me how a woman of faith, of grace, of family was here to serve not only Will County, but our community and the nation. It was my gift. And it was a gift that I learned that there was truth in that service. And when you served and you came here to serve the truth, she opened your hand. And if you grabbed that hand and held on to it, it gave you a strength and a power to serve and to do good. I wish that gift on each of you. Let that light your service.
Thank you, Mary.
Mike, if you join me, please.
If I could have Ron Pullman come down. We're honoring Ron today for his 25 years of service with the county. So Ron has managed HUD and other community-related grants on behalf of the county for more than 37 years, but the last 25 have been as a county employee. Through the CDBG home and related programs, he has administered over $78 million in federal funds. And that $78 million has supported numerous programs to uplift underserved areas and residents of the county with emergency home repair programs, down payment assistance programs, acquisition and rehab programs, house counseling programs, fair housing education and outreach, and homeless services program. That's just to name a few. So today we want to thank you, Ron, and congratulations on your retirement. And we have a certificate of appreciation. May it be known that this certificate has been presented to Ron Pullman for over 25 years of dedicated service to the citizens of Will County as Director of Community Development in the Land Use Department, signed by Larry M. Walsh and Lawrence Daly Ferry, County Clerk. Thanks, John.
Very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you for all the support and the trust that you've all shown me and my staff over the years. It's been a hell of a ride. It really has. You know, I came to the county kind of by accident because I was working for the Valley View School District as the accounting manager, and the CPA who was doing the book said, I understand that there's a new grant program that the county has and they don't know what to do with it. And I said, well, I don't know what to do with it either. But I came and I interviewed, and within 5 minutes I was hired. Back in the old days you could do that, but you can't do that anymore. But in 1982, when the county first became eligible for the block grant program, we really had a clean slate. We didn't know what we had in our hands. We just got $2 million worth of grant funds on an annual basis. And, you know, in the early years, in the first 10, 15 years of the program, we didn't know how much power there was in that money. So we gave $100,000 out to various communities. We had maybe 15, 18 communities that came in and got a piece of the action. And then all of a sudden, in 1996, something happened in Shorewood. It was the flood that hit that area and wiped out 45 homes. And a county board member at the time, Kerry Sheridan, came up to me and he said, "We have an opportunity to get $4 million worth of FEMA funding. And the problem is we have to come up with 750,000 local funds or matching funds." And he asked if we could help. And I said, "Well, I'm not sure. There's nothing in the rules that said we can't." So I was creative at that time, and I still remain to be creative. Some of you know that. And we found the match. We came up with the match, and we were able to relocate 45 families out of the DuPage area that were flooded out. But the light then struck. We realized that $2 million is very, very powerful. We can leverage those funds to do a lot of other things. And the programs have evolved over the years, and they still remain relevant to this day. But I want to thank everybody here who's been a recipient of the grant funds, and also I see some of the agencies and some of my supporting team, and certainly my staff, who's very capable of taking over for where I'm leaving off. But I want to thank my wife for her support over the years. She's been a great sounding board for me. She's received some of the frustration firsthand of sitting through 3 hours worth of minutes to do 5 minutes worth of, I should say 3 hours worth of waiting for 5 minutes of presentation. But I said that's part of being part of the government. And I want to thank the various members of all the county boards that I've served under. They've given us the trust, and they've given us the support that we've needed. You know, and I said that the program has remained relevant. Kerry was a good example of how we could leverage that funding. But when the foreclosure crisis hit back after 2008, communities were being affected by the foreclosures. And HUD carved out a small portion of the block grant program, and they called it the National Stabilization Program. Well, a lot of communities, much bigger than ourselves, didn't know what to do with the money, so they let it sit. We decided that we were going to use the money creatively, and we turned that $5 million into $22 million worth of assistance. And we slowly and effectively ran a program that became the third in the nation. And it wasn't because of me, it was because of the teamwork that we built up. And, you know, Tim Mack was instrumental in running that program. And we continue to be relevant in whatever we do and however we use the funding. And then all of a sudden, we got hit with the homeless crisis back in the mid-'90s, and HUD said we have to form a continuum of care. We didn't know what that was, but we found out that we can network with a lot of agencies. We can network with the City of Joliet, and with not-for-profits, and with the Will County Center for Community Concerns. And after leveraging funding through the block grant program, we now receive over $4.5 million on an annual basis to help the underserved who are homeless or at risk. And a couple years ago, a letter appeared in the mail. It was addressed to me. It says, "Congratulations, you're the 50th community in the country that effectively ended veteran homelessness." And, you know, these things don't happen overnight. Be patient, be diligent, and be respectful of the regulations, And these types of things happen. And in another example of how this program and these programs remain relevant is that, over the years, we've understood that there's a serious opioid crisis in our community. And I was approached by staff here, and all of a sudden, we're realizing that we can create a recovery home for women who are affected by the opioid crisis. So these are examples of how flexible we can be, and how with the support of the county board and the staff that I'm turning this over to, that we can continue to be relevant and effective in serving the needs of those who are less fortunate than ourselves. I thank you very much for this proclamation. And somebody asked me the other day, what am I going to do now that I don't have any meetings to go to? I'm going to go to Disney World.
We have members from the Continuum of Care who would also like to make a presentation to you.
We wanted to present this clock. You are an amazing man. I had to write down everything so I didn't forget, and you're just rattling off all the stats on the COC and all the good things that happened, and so I won't go through it again. But you have led the COC. When agencies came to you in the late '98, I believe, and said, we have a issue here. We need to have somebody lead. We need to create a COC. And you took it, you ran with it, you realized how critical it was that we had an approach to dealing with our community. And I've worked with you since 1991, and we've done a lot of good things. And I don't know of anybody who is as compassionate, and you do it because your heart tells you to do it. And again, we thank you for that.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you all. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Ron. Oh, Ron, we have one more. It seems like retiring is the thing to do, huh? Lori?
Lori?
Yes. I'm wondering why I'm here. Well, Ron was one of my first bosses when I started working at the county at the age of 18. It's amazing, 10 years goes by very quickly. But we just want your staff is wonderful, and I've had the honor of working with you, staff at the county, executive's office, and as a community partner as well. And he treats everybody fairly, and he is a champion for the community. So thank you for doing that.
Thank you.
And this is for you when you get nostalgic and you're 6 months, maybe 6 years from now, when you want to look back and think back of all the good memories you had at the county. And it's titled, Here's to the Months That Turned into Years with the Friends That Turned into Family.
Thank you very much.
So, congratulations.
Thank you all very much. I feel the love.
Mr.
Can I
Brooks?
go now?
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. Mr. Brooks, if you join us.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Terry, come on down. Terry Quaddy, Mr. Glasgow. It is on behalf of the Will County Board, I would like to extend our congratulations to our State's Attorney James Glasgow for his nationwide recognition by the Animal League Defense Fund, or ALDF. The ALDF is a national organization whose mission is to protect the lives and advance the interests of animals through our legal system. Each year, the ALDF recognizes officials who have done outstanding work to make their communities safer for animals during its National Justice for Animal Week, which this year takes place from February 23rd through February 29th. The theme this year is fighting animal cruelty, honoring animal victims, and I am pleased to announce ALDF has chosen our state's attorney, Jim Glasgow, as one of the nation's top 10 animal defenders of 2020. And now, to present the award on behalf of the Animal Legal Defense Fund, I would like to introduce to you all Terry Grotti, President and Founder. Now get this, you all. From WAGs to Wishes, Animal Rescue of Plainfield. Terry, come on over.
Thank you. I've had the opportunity to work extensively with Mr. Glasgow over the past year. Our organization attended his first League of Extraordinary Canines and Friends meeting, where he explained his vision for helping the animals and people of Will County. I've seen his dedication to protecting our trusting and defenseless animals because he recognizes that they are capable of experiencing pain, stress, and fear. Here are just a few reasons why the ALDF selected State's Attorney Glasgow to receive this national award. In 1999, he wrote Illinois' animal torture statute that created Illinois' first criminal felony charge for animal cruelty. Critically, it mandates a psychiatric evaluation upon conviction to diagnose and treat propensity for violence against humans because of the strong link between cruelty to animals and violence against humans. He has hosted numerous ASPCA seminars and local forums to educate our community about the critical importance of reporting animal cruelty and abuse. He has established an animal protection unit in the state's attorney's office to work with our law enforcement community on prosecuting animal abuse and neglect cases. Most recently, he created the League of Extraordinary Canines and Friends, a unifying countywide initiative designed to combat animal cruelty and abuse, and communications cooperative efforts with animal humane and rescue organizations that specialize prosecution unit and state's attorney's office, our law enforcement community, and all local units of government. As the ALDF wrote in its congratulatory letter to State's Attorney Glasgow, animal victims of abuse cannot speak for themselves, so caring individuals in the criminal justice system must speak up for them. Founding the League of Extraordinary Canines and Friends in 2019 is but one example of your effective compassion and dedication to recognizing and addressing animal abuse crimes in your community. It is with great pleasure that we include you among the honorees in the Animal Legal Defense Fund National Justice for Animals Week 2020.
I feel in the shadow of Margie Woods and Ron Pullman, this doesn't even come close to what they've done. But thank you for allowing this to be done. My main purpose in being here is this allows us to talk about the fact that animals are sentient beings and they do experience pain, fear, and stress. And our laws right now are not written that way. I mean, we've got a law right now that the dogs need to be on the verge of death before I can do anything, especially with regards to weather-related things Well, that's insane. Terry Crotty runs a rescue in Plainfield. She's raising her grandkids, and the rest of the time, she's selflessly dedicating herself to cleaning cages, nursing injured animals back to health. She recently took an animal up from Houston, Texas, that had a horrible skin disease and that nobody else wanted. And she sought that dog out, brought it here, and now he's thriving. And so people that are in the animal rescue field in Will County are incredible people, selflessly dedicating themselves. And, you know, that it ties directly into humans also. We just had a case where we took 11 cats out of a hoarder house filled with the droppings of those animals. 9 of the cats were pregnant, about to have kittens in that horrible thing. But we found a special needs child sleeping in a bed full of feces. Now, if we don't go in there for the animals, we don't save that child. And that's happening, that's going to happen on a regular basis. And that case up north where that little boy was killed, when they went in there, they saw the mistreatment of the animals. That's a red flag. And we need to watch for that. Thank God the governor is now funding DCFS for the first time. That's going to change everything. You know, they were always criticizing DCFS, but they didn't have workers or a budget. And now they're going to. So the same thing is true with animals. It's another way we're helping the animals, but we're also protecting our children and everyone who lives in Will County by doing this. I just want to quickly, Don Duck Dickinson called me because he read about the League of Extraordinary Canines. He saw somebody driving down the road with the leash out the window and a dog with a lame front leg trying to keep up. That's how he was walking his dog. So I looked at the statutes, figuring there had to be something that violated, and there wasn't. Because common sense would tell you, you don't walk your dog out the window of your motorized vehicle. So we have legislation pending. Don standing back there. That's the kind of thing that this is for, to get everybody to have knowledge, where to call. We're doing cases that were never done before. And I'm getting personally involved. But I've got 3 attorneys that are here today, Courtney Hogan, Jeff Brown, and Jonathan Sakalariopoulos, and I challenge anybody to repeat that. These 3 attorneys, they're there in the back, are doing fantastic work, and on a daily basis, if you call my office with a problem with an animal, you'll get response like you've never had before. And it's going to pay huge dividends. My main mission is to get the legislature to find that animals are sentient beings. That's critical when you interpret a statute. It sets a philosophical tone for what the words mean. Just like in the Child Ad Center statute, we found that children are our most precious resource. So then, obviously, you know what they mean by the language in the statute. So, and this is Kiwi, one of our support dogs. And, you know, she's the one, she's so calm, she's the only one we could put on the witness stand with a child to testify, because we can't have the dog making any sounds. And so she's very unique in that respect. But the bottom line is, and one more example, Courtney she volunteers at Oak Park Animal Control. Dog was there 200 days. No one would adopt it. Now she's got it at Terry Crotty's Wags to Wishes. It'll be adopted rather quickly. And not to mention, Courtney was dropping off some items she had bought at Menards or someplace on sale, you know, bedding and that, you know, that type of stuff. And I went with her, and I saw this little pairhead Chihuahua cowering in a cage, and Terry hands him to me, and now he's at our house. But this little guy, 5 days, didn't make a sound, was cowering, his tail was tucked tight on his body. Now his tail's going like this. He's barking all the time. We've got a 65-pound standard poodle, and he's ripping toys out of his mouth. It's insane. But he is so happy. I mean, you can see the exhilaration in this little dog prancing around and jumping. When you see that transition there, they feel much like any living being, and they're entitled to it. We shouldn't have to wait. You know, the fact that a dog can survive in this terrible weather, they're suffering while they're surviving. That's intolerable. I should be able to intervene. I can't always under this statute, but Bert Badisher, who is a Joliet policeman, he has a rectal thermometer, and he's out there. Now, you know, that's something that we need to prove beyond a reasonable doubt what the core temperature of that dog is. And thank God he's out there doing it. He sees 2 dogs on Friday that were borderline hypothermia, And we're going to save those dogs. And this team here will forfeit those dogs and get them to a rescue where they'll be adopted into a loving home. So this is all good stuff, and but the biggest thing is to get the public out there to understand, you see an animal in stress, call somebody. But then you're going to say, who do I call? That's where we come in. We got to get a network going where all the animal control people are working with us, and we have responsive citizens who know who to call. And when you call, there'll be somebody that knows what they're doing and will freaking do it for the first time. So, you know, I've got 4 dogs, and the solace that they provide me every day. My kids are gone. My youngest is in college, so now I get to take care of these dogs, and it's the light of my life. I don't have a passport. I went to Canada once. I went to Mexico once for a day, and so they're the center of my universe right now, and they make me run. You know. So anyway, it's not just that, but it's the connection to human beings that's critical. We can save so many people just by paying attention to what's happening to the animals. And if we start, I was talking to a first and second grade class, and I thought this is where we should start. We should start them thinking about being nice to animals. And you know, we were talking about kindness. Kindness was the word for the month. And we just discussed how, do you feel good when you're kind to each other? Yeah. Well, then if you're kind to an animal, you're going to feel good too. And get them to understand from an early age. That is so critically important. We see that with so many kids that are living in horrible environments and never get that. And so hopefully that'll be the total cycle, is when we get an education program for children, bring dogs into the schools, let them understand. I think it'll help go a long way to helping with violent crime in Will County. So again, thanks for allowing us to ramble on up here, and I hope I didn't miss anything. Yeah, we're good. But don't hesitate to call our office and ask for somebody in the Animal Protection Unit. You will get a call back. And the reason I wanted to have this many attorneys in there, if somebody's on sick or somebody's on vacation, there's always going to be somebody there. And then I'm personally involved with what they're doing on a regular basis. One last thing, we had one case where a lineman for ComEd is looking down in the backyard and says he sees 2 emaciated dogs, and nobody in the neighborhood called. We shouldn't have that. You know, a neighbor should be able to call if it wants to be anonymous, whatever, so that we can come out. One of those dogs died. It was a 10 on the emaciation scale and couldn't be saved. So just think of the suffering that a living thing goes through. And, you know, Annette Parker, I'll give a shout out to your husband. Is he here? Brian, stand up. Brian has intervened from land use in a number of cases, and we've been able to save some dogs, and he's always Johnny on the spot. So that's what we need. But if he can't call our office and get something done, then all his good work goes for naught. So we're all working together now, and it's going to be good. Thank you.
We have Board Member Mimi Cowan recognizing the League of Women Voters.
Do we have any of our guests from the League here? I think they were going to try to make it. Okay. Whereas the League of Women Voters was formed at the Congress Hotel in Chicago, Illinois on February 14th, 1920, and celebrated its 100th anniversary on February 14th, 2020. And whereas the League was formed 6 months prior to, but in anticipation of, ratification of the 19th Amendment, giving white women the right to vote, because of course we know that black women, Asian women, and Native American women struggled for some time after that for their right to vote. Whereas the League was a political experiment designed to help 20 million women carry out their new responsibilities as voters by educating them about issues. And whereas, from the beginning, the League determined it would be nonpartisan, neither supporting nor opposing any political party or individual candidate. And whereas, the League continues today as a nonpartisan political organization that encourages informed and active participation in government, works to increase understanding of major public policy issues, and influences public policy through education and advocacy. And whereas today, the League is composed of members in over 700 local, county, and state leagues in all 50 states, plus the District of Columbia, the Virgin Islands, and Hong Kong. And whereas among these state leagues is the League of Women Voters of Illinois that was incorporated on March 22nd, 1920, and is composed of over 40 local leagues with almost 4,000 members. And whereas among the local leagues in Illinois is the League of Women Voters of Naperville that was incorporated in 1956 and is composed of 88 members. And whereas members of the League first study and then take action on a broad range of issues after reaching a consensus on positions. And whereas leagues at all levels, among other activities, register voters, educate voters by holding candidate forums, and publish voter guides, publish public policy research, and hold meetings on key issues. And whereas the League is a civic organization that has fought since 1920 to improve government and engage everyone in the decisions that impact their lives. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Will County Board and the Will County Executive congratulate the League of Women Voters on its 100th anniversary. Be it further resolved that the Will County Board and the Will County Executive recognize the importance of the League's vision of a democracy where every person has the desire, the right, the knowledge, and the confidence to participate.
We'll now have Board Member Margaret Tyson read from the desk.
Oh, okay. I would like to read into the record recognizing February as Black History Month. Whereas one of the best ways we can shape the future is to preserve what we value of our past, and whereas African Americans have a rich heritage and Black History Month gives us an opportunity to learn more about this important part of our nation's story. And whereas Black History Month serves as a celebration and an acknowledgement of the invaluable contribution by African Americans to the spiritual character, economic prosperity, and cultural development of our nation. And whereas the theme for 2020, African Americans and the Vote, recognizes the struggle for voting rights among both Black men and women throughout American history. It is an ongoing struggle for people of color that continues into the 21st century. Now, therefore, be resolved that the Will County Board and Will County Executive recognize February as Black History Month and acknowledge the outstanding achievements of African Americans throughout American history. Be it further resolved that the Will County Board and Will County Executive encourage the citizens of Will County to celebrate our diverse heritage and the continuing efforts to build a better tomorrow for all our children and grandchildren. And I so move.
Moved by Ms. Tyson, second by second by Ms. Mueller. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries. Thank you. All righty. Please be advised, all resolutions approved at the January 16th, 2020 County Board meeting have been signed by the County Executive. New business, we'll start with committees. Mr. Markham, Land Use and Development.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'd like to start by moving to open the public hearing for all land use cases.
Moved by Mr. Markham, second by Mr. Moustis. All those in favor?
It has to be a roll.
Call the roll, please.
It has to be a roll call.
Frizzalone? Newquist? Ogalla?
Yes.
Moustis? Rice? Tyson?
Yes.
Harris?
Yes.
Trainier?
Yes.
Fritz? Mueller?
Yes.
Gould?
Yes.
Van Dyne?
Yes.
Balich? Brooks?
Yes.
Parker?
Yes.
Ventura?
Yes.
Markham?
Yes.
Berkowitz?
Yes.
Cowan?
Yes.
Tuminello? Weigel? Carlitis? Winfrey?
Yes.
23 affirmative.
right, thank you. Mr. Markham, continue.
So there's two cases, zoning case ZC-19-067, which is a zoning map amendment from A1 to I1 in Frankfurt on LaGrange Road in County Board District Number 2. Then there's zoning case ZC-19-080, which is a special use permit for an on-premise dynamic display in an agricultural and residential zoning district. I don't know, I don't have the sheet if anybody signed up there.
Are there any members of the public wishing to speak on these cases? I have one person signed up, Mr. Lowell Denton. Did you wish to speak?
I believe his is under the
Thank you.
resolutions, correct? Yeah, you're for the appeal, right? You're here for the appeal, correct? Okay, he's further down
Okay.
on the agenda, so he'll have opportunity to
Later. Okay, anyone wishing to speak on the public hearing cases? Anyone wishing to speak on the public hearing cases? Mr. Markham?
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Thank you. Second. Motion by Mr. Markham, second by Mr. Mueller. Would you call the roll, please? Mrs. Mueller, sorry.
Frizalone?
Yes.
Newquist?
Yes.
Ogala?
Yes.
Mustis?
Yes.
Rice? Tyson?
Yes.
Harris?
Yes.
Trainier?
Yes.
Fritz? Mueller?
Yes.
Gould?
Yes.
Van Dyne?
Yes.
Balich?
Yes.
Brooks?
Yes.
Parker?
Yes.
Ventura?
Yes.
Markham?
Yes.
Berkowitz?
Yes.
Cowan?
Yes.
Tumanello? Weigel?
Yes.
Carlitis? Winfrey?
Yes.
23 affirmative.
The motion carries. Mr. Markham,
All right.
continue.
First up, we have zoning case ZC-19-067, which is a request for a zoning map amendment from A1 to I1 in Green Garden Township, commonly known as 24405 South LaGrange Road, Frankfurt, Illinois, County Board District Number 2. There was a legal objection to this by Frankfurt, and I'll make a motion to approve.
Moved by Mr. Markham, second by Mr. Mustis. All those in favor?
No, this one, really quick, Madam Speaker.
This one needs a supermajority.
This one does need 20 affirmative votes. The Land Use Committee voted 2 to 4 to approve, so we're recommending a lot of that was on the request of the 2 county board members from District 2, so I don't know if he wants to add anything. But
Are there questions? Are there people that are signed up to speak?
And he's the first one up. So, Mr. Weigel?
Morning, Speaker Winfrey and fellow board members. I would first move to place on file the 2019 Governor's Report from the Will County Veterans Assistance Commission.
45. Frankfurt just came out against it recently because they changed their comprehensive plan. They would like housing on this particular area, but there's already industrial buildings there. Nobody's going to build a house on that property, so I would urge you to vote yes for it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Weigel. Are there others wishing to speak? No?
Okay, so I guess I'll request a roll call vote for this.
Okay. Madam Clerk?
Yep. Frizalone?
No.
Newquist?
No.
Ogala?
Yes.
Mustis?
No.
Rice?
Yes.
Tyson?
Yes.
Harris?
No.
Trainier?
Yes.
Fritz?
Yes.
Mueller?
No.
Gould?
Yes.
Van Dyne?
No.
Balich?
Yes.
Brooks?
No.
Parker?
Yes.
Ventura?
No.
Markham?
No.
Berkowitz?
Yes.
Cowan?
No.
Tumanello?
Yes.
Weigel?
Yes.
Carlitis?
Yes.
Winfrey?
No.
12 affirmative, 11 negative.
So the motion did not pass. Because we needed it to be the other way around. Yeah, okay. Okay.
Next up, we have zoning case ZC-19-080, which is a special use permit for an on-premise dynamic display in an agricultural and residential district with a variance that was approved by Planning and Zoning in Washington Township, commonly known as 28054 South Yates Avenue, Beecher, Illinois County Board District Number 1. Planning and Zoning voted 7-0 to approve. Land Use and Development voted unanimously to approve, so I'll make a motion to approve the special use permit.
Motion by Mr. Markham, second by Ms. Ogalla. All those in favor?
Aye.
Yeah, we need to.
We need another roll call. Yes.
Frizalone?
Yes.
Newquist?
Yes.
Ogalla?
Yes.
Mustis? Rice?
Yes.
Tyson?
Yes.
Harris?
Yes.
Trainier? Fritz? Mueller? Gold?
Yes.
Van Dyne?
Yes.
Balich?
Yes.
Brooks?
Yes.
Parker?
Yes.
Ventura?
Yes.
Dollinger? Markham?
Yes.
Berkowitz?
Yes.
Cowan?
Yes.
Tumanello? Weigel? Curlitis? Winfrey?
Yes.
22 affirmative.
22 affirmative, the motion carries.
All right, next up, we have 20-1, which is overturning the decision of the Planning and Zoning Commission and approval of Appeal APCD-19-002, which is for the zoning case ZC-19-068, which is in Green Garden Township, commonly known as 10250 West Dunkel Road, Frankfort, Illinois, excuse me, County Board District Number 2. And before I make a motion, just so everybody's straight, we finally got our motions carried out or fixed for this. So the motion will from now on always be to approve the appeal. So that's since we've had a lot of these recently and there was some confusion with how we were doing it. So the motion, I'll make the motion to approve the appeal for this case.
Motion by Mr. Markham, second by Ms. Ventura. Previous roll by Mr. Weigel.
I don't know, he was here to speak if we want to give him the opportunity.
Mr. Denton, did you wish to speak? You say you have questions. Did you want to speak now? Or Mr. Osterberger, are you speaking for him?
Madam Chairman, thank you. I'm here with Mr. Denton. I'm happy to answer any questions. We have the utmost respect for the Planning Commission. The night of the hearing, I don't think Mr. Denton provided the information that would have helped them make a positive decision. And so my partner, Dick Kavanaugh, appeared in front of Land Use, which unanimously approved overturning it. Again, I wish we had been there in front of the Planning Commission with him, but we're here to answer questions, and we would ask for your approval of Land Use's decision to overrule the PCC.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Were there other questions? Ms. Ogalla?
Yeah, I just want to make sure if we could have land use. I know that the board, most of the members on the board want to support the landowner in this situation, so if they could just verify, is this a yes vote to approve the appeal? They could do that.
Yes, we'll approve the appeal.
All right, I just wanted to make sure
Yes.
that everyone was aware, support the appeal. Thanks.
Yes.
So if you want to approve for the landowner, vote yes.
Okay. So we already asked for the vote, right? We have a motion and a second. So the yes vote then approves the appeal, which is to say it supports the landowner. Other questions? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
All right. So next up, we have...
Meadow, would you like to be a
sorry.
yes? Yeah,
Next up, we have 20-41, which is a request for refund of fees for zoning case number ZC-19-079, which was at 16339 135th Street, Lamont, Illinois, County Board District Number 7. This was a situation where the applicant didn't actually need to apply, and there was an error on our part, so we voted in committee to approve. So I'll make a motion to approve the request for refunds.
Motion by Mr. Markham, second by Mr. Tumanello. Previous roll by Mr. Mustis. second by Ms. Mueller. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries.
That concludes our business. I'll just give a quick shout out to Ron Pullman on his retirement. I serve on COC with him, so I'll miss him dearly. Our next Land Use and Development Committee is scheduled for March 10th, 2020 at 10:30 in this room.
Thank you. Next up is Finance. Mr. Harris.
Good morning, Madam Speaker, County Board members, and all in attendance. Have 3 items to bring forward under the Finance Committee. The first is reports to be placed on file. I have 2 reports. The first report is from the Illinois Department of Revenue showing sales tax remitted to Will County for the month of November 2019 to be $1,855,337.27. The RTA tax received is $2,244,524.48 for a total of $4,129,861.75. The next report is from the Will County Treasurer, dated December 31st, 2019. I so move.
Motion by Mr. Harris, second by Ms. Mueller. Previous roll, Mr. Frizzalone, second by Mr. Ballage. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries.
Okay, I have 2 resolutions. The first is 20-42. This is transferring appropriation within the various county budgets. This is FY19 cleanup number 1. I so move.
Motion by Mr. Harris, second by Mr. Weigel. Excuse me. Previous roll, Ms. Trenier, second by Ms. Berkowitz. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries.
Next resolution is 20-43. This is authorizing the county executive to execute the necessary document for the delinquent tax program. I so move.
Moved by Mr. Harris, second by Ms. Newquist. Previous roll by Mr. Van Dyne, second by Mr. Tuminello. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay, the next Finance Committee meeting is scheduled for April 7th, 2020 at 10 a.m. Any issues or routine issues for the Finance Committee between now and then will be discussed at the Executive Committee meeting on March 5th. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Harris.
You're welcome.
Next up is Public Works and Transportation. Mr. Van Dyne.
Thank you, and good morning, Madam Speaker. Starting with number 1, 20-44, designating Class 2 truck routes in Will County, and I so move.
Moved by Mr. Van Dyne, second by Mr. Gould. Previous roll, Ms. Rice, second by Ms. Mueller. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
20-45, confirming award of contract to perform traffic control systems for countywide striping, all county board district, and I so move.
Moved by Mr. Van Dyne, second by Mr. Tuminello. Previous roll, Ms. Fritz, second by Mr. Carlitis. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
20-46, improvement by county under the Illinois Highway Code for countywide striping, all county board districts using MFT funds, and I so move.
Moved by Mr. Van Dyne, second by Mr. Frizzalone. Previous roll, Ms. Ogala, second by Ms. Cowan. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
20-47, confirming award to contract to Austin Tyler Construction for Briggs Street from I-80 westbound ramps north to Washington Street, County Board District 8, and I so move.
Moved by Mr. Van Dyne, second by Mr. Brooks. Previous roll, Ms. Ventura, second by Mr. Harris. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
20-48, improvement by county under the Illinois Highway Code for the improvements on Briggs Street from I-80 westbound ramps north to Washington Street, County Board District 8, using MFT funds, and I so move.
Moved by Mr. Van Dyne, second by Mr. Brooks. Previous roll, Mr. Ballage, second by Mr. Weigel. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
20-49, authorizing amendment to the professional services agreement for supplemental design engineering services agreement with Willett Hoffman and Associates at Cedar Road over Spring Creek, County Board District 7, and I so move.
Moved by Mr. Van Dyne, second by Mr. Ballage. Previous roll, Mr. Frizzalone, second by Mr. Moustis. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
20-50, authorizing an agreement between the County of Will and Enterprise TE Products Pipeline Company for relocating facilities at Laraway Road from Stonebridge Drive to Cedar Road, County Board District 12, and I so move.
Moved by Mr. Van Dyne, second by Mr. Weigel. Previous roll, Mr. Tuminello, second by Ms. Parker. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
20-51, authorizing an intergovernmental agreement with the City of Joliet for improvements at the intersection of Briggs Street and Washington Street, County Board District 8, and I so move.
Moved by Mr. Van Dyne, second by Mr. Brooks. Previous roll, Mr. Moustis, second by Mr. Carlitis. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
20-52, authorizing an intergovernmental agreement between the County of Will and Bolingbrook Park District for construction of appurtenance work within county right-of-way, and I so move.
Moved by Mr. Van Dyne, second by Mr. Harris. Previous roll, Ms. Berkowitz, second by Ms. Parker. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
20-53, authorizing approval of the establishment of Alter Speed Zone, County Board District Number 2, and I so move.
Moved by Mr. Van Dyne, second by Mr. Moustis. Previous roll, Mr. Frizzalone, second by Ms. Tyson. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
20-54, authorizing approval of the establishment of Alter Speed Zone 349 REV, County Board District Number 2, and I so move.
Moved by Mr. Van Dyne, second by Mr. Moustis. Previous roll, Ms. Tyson, second by Mr. Markham. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
20-55, authorizing approval of professional services agreement for design engineering services with BLA for the Manhattan-Monee Road from Center Road to Monee Core Limits, County Board Districts 1 and 2, and I so move.
Moved by Mr. Markham, second by Ms. Ogala. Previous roll, Ms. Newquist, second by Ms. Mueller. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
20-56, authorizing the appropriation of MFT funds for design engineering services by the county under the Illinois Highway Code for Manhattan-Monee Road from Center Road to Monee Core Limits, County Board District 1 and 2, and I so move.
Moved by Mr. Van Dyne, second by Ms. Newquist. Previous roll, Ms. Ogala, second by Ms. Fritz. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
20-57, authorizing approval of supplemental professional services agreement for design engineering services with Hutchinson Engineering on Briggs Street, County Highway 54, from I-80 westbound ramps north to Washington Street, County Board District Number 8, and I so move.
Moved by Mr. Van Dyne, second by Mr. Brooks. Previous roll, Ms. Berkowitz, second by Ms. Newquist. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
20-58, authorizing the appropriation of MFT funds for supplemental design engineering services by the county under the Illinois Highway Code for Briggs Street, County Highway 54, from I-80 westbound ramps north to Washington Street, County Board District 8, and I so move.
Moved by Mr. Van Dyne, second by Mr. Brooks. Previous roll, Ms. Trenier, second by Ms. Ventura. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
20-59, authorizing a second amendment to the intergovernmental agreement for engineering services and construction of roadway improvements at traffic signal modifications at the intersection with Weber Road and Gaskin Drive in the County of Will, County Board District 7, and I so move.
Moved by Mr. Van Dyne, second by Mr. Frizzalone. Previous roll, Mr. Ballage, second by Mr. Tuminello. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And the next Public Works and Transportation Committee meeting is scheduled for March 5th, 2020 at 9 a.m. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Van Dyne. Next up, we have Judicial, Mr. Markham.
We have no business this month. I just wanted to make an announcement about Will County's Fresh Start Fair. This is our second annual expungement fair, which will be Saturday, June 13th from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. at the courthouse. If you're going to apply, you do need to fill out an application, which can be found at circuitclerkofwillcounty.com. And then you can email it into the circuit clerk's office. They do ask that you register by April 1st, so you can get the word out to your constituents, and I'm sure they'll be looking forward to having a bunch of us volunteer again this year. So that's it for Judicial. Our next meeting is scheduled for April 7th at 9 a.m.
Thank you, Mr. Markham. Next up is Public Health and Safety, Mr. Gould.
Good morning, Speaker Winfrey. Good morning, fellow board members. I have one report to place on file. I have the fourth quarter report from Dr. Sean Walsh, Regional Superintendent of Schools, and I move to place that report on file.
Thank you. Moved by Mr. Gould, second by Ms. Ogala. Previous row, Ms. Mueller, second by Ms. Trenier. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Our next meeting is March 4th at 10 o'clock. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Legislative and Policy, Ms. Trenier.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. We have for everyone's approval today the state legislative agenda. It is attached to your packet, and I'm just looking for, well, I move.
Motion by Ms. Trenier, second by Ms. Newquist. Previous row by Ms. Ogala, second by Ms. Ventura. Questions? And Ms. Ogala's hand was first.
Go ahead. Thank you. So I think that we did a good job at trying to keep this really nice and focused on the items that need to be done, not a large wish list of things. I wish that we would have been able to include a state legislative agenda for the drainage district fees in my district. This has been impacting my residents since 2002 when the state first started buying property, and it has a negative impact on it as they have knocked down homes on those properties. Those homestead areas cannot be farmed, so there's no tax dollars being collected. Therefore, my residents are always asked to put more money out on the table. I know that the state really, that they did not really want to include that because it's a district thing and IDOT has properties all over the state. I don't know how long those properties are impacted, but this is a drainage district fee. This is the drainage. We don't have sewers in the country. This is how we pay for it. This is how we maintain our drainage, our ditches, and our creeks so that the stormwater flows properly. That was sad to me that we didn't do that. And as we move forward, I hope that we as a board, once we have a look at the airport, that we will take a collective vote opposing the airport in Peatone. It's been being proposed since I was 25 years old. I'm currently 59, and that's a really long time, and I don't know any other people, any other area of Will County that has been depressed for so long with the promise or threat, whatever way people look at it, of an airport. Either way, it's negative. A lot of tax dollars have been spent on this. I think that as a county board member, and those of you here should, as Margie Woods would ask, which I found out today, and it seemed like she was a great woman who would stick to her guns and stuff like that, is that I think that we need to stick together on this. Right now, remember, the legislation gives the authority for the airport to Cook County. This is Will County property. This is Will County residents that's been impacted all these years, and we really need to take a strong position and support Will County. And I would ask as we move forward that we could look at that, and all of you support me. We don't need an airport. We need to look at what we can do with agriculture in Will County and maintain it. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Ventura?
Yes, so I could not attend the legislative meetings, but I had suggested some things for this. It was not included, so much like O'Galler, I'm asking for future that there be some very serious considerations about 4 areas. One is continuing expanding mail-in ballots for the state and having an automatic renewal for those who were on it previously. I would like the clerk's help in maybe pushing some of that legislation. You guys have reported the Colorado and California, who have the highest mail-in ballots, also have the highest voter turnout. So it's a proven system that works. I'd love for our state to continue in that capacity. The next thing is having more incentives for EV charging stations. We saw ourselves here on the county board, or I should say the Forest Preserve, as commissioners. The price is prohibited for government agency to put in charging stations when it costs up to $10,000 per station. You know, it's hard to pass something like that if it only affects a few people. But as we continue to move into that, I think it is the job that we are leaders, but also we're prudent with our taxpaying dollars. If this is something the state can continue to push and incentivize, then local governments have a better chance of serving their residents and moving towards a cleaner and greener county. I think that's in the best decisions for all of us here on this board. So I'd like us to continue to lobby the state on that. The last two are, everyone here knows people in their district are complaining about property taxes. It's no secret. We talk about it on this board constantly. My opinion, we need our school funding to come from our income taxes in the state, not from individual residents. So there are states like Hawaii who use 100% of their income tax to fund their schools, making them fair from the top to the bottom. California as high as 70%. Ours is 14%. The rest of it falls on property owners or Title I funding through the federal government. We could do much better than 14%. I think we should be lobbying our state for a much higher percentage of income tax to fund our schools. And lastly, we had this on our last year's agenda. It was removed. I'd like to bring it back, and that is the banning of puppy mills and the sale of animals through puppy mill institutes. We had a group come here, Safe Pets for Joliet, give a presentation 2 years ago. The board did approve that this would be a part of their state legislation agenda. It was removed last year. I requested it be added this year. It was again removed. The state's attorney has left, but I'd love his help in continue to push that forward. I do think that there are plenty of animals in this world. We euthanize way too many of them. There's ways to get pets that are more humane than the way that we allow it today. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ventura. Other questions? Mr. Frizzalone?
I don't want to get in a debate today on the floor, but the voter and election is a component of this. We're asking for better ways to get more participation. So we are a little vague, but that's because we're asking for everybody to talk about this. In regards to electric stations, this is a scenario where people will put electric stations in when they see that it's cost effective. If there are more electric cars sold, more stations will pop up. It's kind of a chicken and the egg, that's the way it's going to work out. As far as school funding goes, that's a great idea. Let's just take it all out of the income tax. I guess you want to triple, quadruple the income tax. You got to look at the whole number, not just the one sentence that says, let's make it easy and just take all of the school funding from the state. The state's showing how much money they owe right now in pensions and all these other funds. You don't just shift more burden onto the state without having some other kind of revenue. So I think all of these things sound great, but some we have in here, and some of them will take time for us to vet out. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Frizzalone. Ms. Trenier.
Yes, Madam Speaker, just wanted to address a couple of comments that Ms. Ventura made. I know she wasn't able to attend the meeting. We all are very busy. It's difficult to attend every single meeting and/or try to catch up with what went on because we have lives. But in response to the EV charging stations, the county is actually offering a grant program, and we are encouraging municipalities to participate. I believe the max was $3,500 that they could receive from the county, and as soon as they start applying, our committee will, I'm sure, be made aware of it. The Land Use Department is actually running that grant program, so that's moving forward. We have a lot of commercial businesses that are working with private industry to bring EV charging stations in. You've seen them in many of the malls. In Bolingbrook, we have Volta that has installed charging stations at the Promenade Mall. Macy's pays for them. It's free to the consumer. So it's really kind of a nice deal. You have them for the Teslas at most of the Meijer grocery stores. So these things are coming forward, and of course government is also participating and trying to do their best to put them in appropriate places in areas where we own the land and we have the possibility of doing so. As for the puppy mills, it was not the will of the committee to move forward on that. We decided that it was more of a municipal issue. I don't even believe there's any pet stores located in unincorporated Will County, but I can't say that absolutely. And we just thought that that was more of a municipal thing. We were trying to keep focused on key core county business
and keep our agenda a little bit smaller in hopes that we can be more successful and attack the things that, really are of a huge concern to us, like the clean construction, demolition, and debris, groundwater monitoring. We feel like that will be the biggest challenge that we have. It's going to take a lot of energy to get that moving forward in the right direction, and it will impact the largest number of residents that we represent with wills. So that's it.
Thank you, Ms. Trenier. Ms. Fritz.
Thank you, Speaker. When I read this document, I was pleasantly surprised how much of it I agreed with. As much as we argue and fight in this chamber, from one side of the room to the other, I was pleasantly surprised. So much to the credit of Ms. Trenier and the committee, I appreciate that. My only criticism would be that there was merely a passing mention of election integrity. I think that vote fraud is a huge issue that we have here in the state, perhaps less so in the county, but I think that it's still an issue that every single entity that runs elections deals with and needs to really focus on cleaning the voter rolls, making sure that only people who are legitimate residents are voting. Obviously, not registering people who are not here legally. That would not, that's not conducive. These are the types of issues that we deal with when it comes to election integrity, and I think that we should have a greater emphasis on this, especially pushing the state to do better. Thank you.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries, and thank you, Ms. Trenier. On March 10th at 9 a.m., so if you have something to bring forward that you'd like us to discuss or consider taking on, because, the Springfield session is just heating up, please come our way. Thank you. Thank you. Next up, we have capital improvements. Mr. Brooks.
Good morning, Madam Speaker, County Board. Oh, still morning. I have no resolutions to bring forth. However, after and let me thank Vice Chair, Mr. Tuminella. Last month for committee, I was out with the flu last week. Thank you so much. After our next committee meeting on March the 5th, we will have our ribbon cutting ceremony for the Animal Control Center only. Is that right, Dave? They're all set up and running over there. They're moving in. So right after that committee, are we still in there for like 12 noon? Did we say 12 noon? Right after the committee meeting. So right after? All right. And I promise you I won't keep you long. So on the 5th, Animal Control, Cherry Hill Road, you all should have the invite by now. And I think that's all that I have, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Brooks. Next up, we have the Executive Committee, Ms. Mueller.
Come on, Madam.
Good morning, Madam Speaker and fellow county board members and members of the public who are still here. We have 16 resolutions to bring before you today. The first one is 19-377. I'd like to make a motion to remove it from the table.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Mueller, second by Mr. Markham. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay. That resolution 19-377 reads, authorizing the Will County Executive to execute a tolling agreement for the Hobolt Road Extension with the County of Will and Hobolt Road Extension, LLC, and I so motion to approve.
Motion by Ms. Mueller, second by Mr. Van Dyne. Previous roll, Mr. Gould, second by Mr. Carlitis. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Resolution 20-61, authorizing the county executive to execute a professional services agreement with Eco Engineers for phases 3 and 4 of the renewable natural gas facility development at Prairie View Landfill, and I so move.
Moved by Ms. Mueller, second by Ms. Ventura. Previous roll, Mr. Ballage, second by Mr. Tuminella. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Resolution 20-62, abatement intent ordinance, Village of Shanahan, and I so move.
Motion by Ms. Mueller, second by Mr. Van Dyne. Previous row, Ms. Ogala, second by Ms. Berkowitz. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Resolution 20-63, adoption of successor collective bargaining agreement between the County of Will Board of Health and AFSCME 1028 for the Will County Health Department, December 1st, 2016 through November 30th, 2021. And I so move.
Moved by Ms. Mueller, second by Mr. Markham. Previous roll, Ms. Tyson, second by Mr. Harris. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Motion carries. Was there a question? Mr. Moustis?
Part of the reason I would know is because the Supreme Court ruled on fair share, that people have the ability to not join the union and not have to pay fair share or the union dues. This agreement includes fair share, which I think is contradictory to the Supreme Court ruling. So I'd even ask the state's attorney to take a look at it, that if we can approve something that basically the law says is prohibited.
Mary?
Thanks, Don. Well, we'll see how it works.
So as you know, we were not involved in these negotiations. I'm sure there was outside counsel that probably was. I would say it was probably just an oversight that was left in. The bottom line is it would be considered void by any court, and the county does not collect. Unless the people have voluntarily signed up, they no longer collect fair share for anyone.
Well,
So as a practice.
So you think it's an oversight that cannot be enforced?
It cannot be enforced. No, you cannot, the Supreme Court has said we cannot collect fair share, so I don't think that they can do that, no.
Okay, well then I guess I'll be a yes.
Okay. Thank you, Mary. Okay.
Okay, Resolution 20-64, authorizing county executive to negotiate and execute a professional services agreement for 2020 to 2024 HUD Consolidated Plan and 2020 Action Plan, and I so move.
Moved by Ms. Mueller, second by Mr. Frizzalone. Previous roll, Ms. Tyson, second by Mr. Van Dyne. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Resolution 20-65, authorizing the county executive to execute an intergovernmental agreement with the City of Joliet to perform water meter replacements for properties in the Fairmont subdivision, and I so move.
Moved by Ms. Mueller, second by Ms. Ventura. Previous roll, Ms. Parker, second by Mr. Brooks. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Resolution 20-66, authorizing contribution to the United Way.
Motion by Ms. Mueller, second. Excuse me. Second by Mr. Gould. Previous roll, Mr. Moustis, second by Ms. Rice. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Resolution 20-67, awarding bid for farm lease for agricultural purposes on approximately 49.78 acres of county landfill property, and I so move.
Moved by Ms. Mueller, second by Ms. Fritz. Previous roll by Mr. Harris, second by Ms. Tyson. Is there a question? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Resolution 20-68, authorizing the county executive to execute an intergovernmental agreement between the Village of Homer Glen and the County of Will for a one-day household hazardous waste drop-off event for 2020, and I so move.
Moved by Ms. Mueller, second by Ms. Tyson. Previous roll, Mr. Weigel, second by Mr. Gould. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Resolution 20-69, awarding bid for electronics recycling, and I so move.
Moved by Ms. Mueller, second by Ms. Newquist. Previous roll, Ms. Rice, second by Mr. Carlitis. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Resolution 20-70, authorizing the county executive to execute an intergovernmental agreement between the City of Wilmington and the County of Will for electronics recycling, and I so move.
Moved by Ms. Mueller, second by Mr. Markham. Previous roll, Mr. Tuminello, second by Ms. Berkowitz. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Resolution 2071, authorizing the county executive to execute an intergovernmental agreement between Manhattan Township and the County of Will for electronics recycling, and I so move.
Moved by Ms. Mueller, second by Mr. Mustis. Previous roll, Mr. Frizzalone, second by Ms. Ogala. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Resolution 20-72, replacement hire for the ICT Department programmer, and I so move.
Moved by Ms. Mueller, second by Ms. Ogala. Previous roll, Ms. Trenier, second by Ms. Cowan. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Resolution 20-73, replacement hire for ICT Department infrastructure tech, and I so move.
Moved by Ms. Mueller, second by Mr. Ballage. Previous roll, Mr. Van Dyne, second by Mr. Harris. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Resolution 20-74, replacement hire for Sunny Hill Nursing Home, and I so move.
Moved by Ms. Mueller, second by Mr. Gould. Previous roll, Ms. Rice, second by Ms. Tyson. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And the last one, 20-75, authorizing the county executive to negotiation contract for RNG facility.
Moved by Ms. Mueller, second by Mr. Frizzalone. Previous roll, Mr. Brooks, second by Mr. Carlitis. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
The next executive committee meeting is scheduled for March 5th, 2020 at 10 a.m. And that concludes our report.
Thank you. There are no appointments from the county executive. Do we have public comments? Anyone from the audience wishing to speak? Public comments. All right, thank you. Comments by county board members?
Anyone?
Mr. Ballage?
Yeah, today we heard a lot about animal cruelty, and, you know, I deplore anybody that's going to hurt an animal. I agree with everything that our state's attorney Glasgow said, and I do a lot of reading, and there's states that have felony laws for anybody that does anything to hurt an animal. But the whole time I'm hearing about animals, and I hear about puppy mills, and it's all that, but then it comes to me that we don't treat babies that are born alive in the same manner. I'm not talking about abortion. I'm talking about babies that are born alive, that were supposed to get aborted. We don't protect them. And so it seems contradictory on a big giant level when you say it's okay to do that, but it should be a felony, which I agree, to be cruel to an animal, to leave it out and suffer in the cold, but yet a baby that gets born comes out and it's alive and it's breathing, and you just let it die. So it's just a logical problem that I have a problem getting my arms around.
Thank you. Ms. Ventura?
Yes, I want to congratulate Ron Pullman again on his retirement. My short time on the board, and even before I was on Will County Board, Ron was very instrumental in thinking outside the box to solve solutions in my district as well as in Joliet and on the continuing care. I think that he will be well missed. I am looking forward to Martha taking over that department and seeing how she also works outside the box. So I'm excited to see a transition, but I do think Ron will be sorely missed. The other thing is I was contacted by a constituent multiple times. His name is Don Ziers, and he is interested in having our website, our Will County website, specifically through the clerk's department, put up a list of candidates with website addresses for each election. I know Lauren and I have talked about this before. I believe he's talked with Denise about this issue, so I said I would bring it up for the county board to consider. If there is some type of increased cost in having to put a staff member on that each election cycle, that's maybe something we should look at the financial department. If that's an increase to the clerk's budget, that might make that feasible, but his idea is that if at least all of the candidates per election in each of the different sample ballots were listed, then someone could go and look at their platforms and be better knowledgeable. There are apparently other websites throughout the United States, some governments who do provide that information, and some don't. So he's asking that we be a county that tries to engage the voters in education. And perhaps this is something we could work with the League of Women Voters, since they too have a website that provides that information, and maybe it's a matter of just trying to link it together. But it didn't seem like an unreasonable request by a constituent, so I said I would bring it up here for people to consider putting it on an agenda. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Tuminello?
Madam Speaker, if you'd be kind enough, I'd like to speak for a couple minutes on something that is personal to me, obviously. There has been a lot of rumors and some gossip and some questions in the last, 5 to 6 months. Individuals have come up to me and asked, where you been? Haven't seen yet some meetings, haven't seen yet some Republican meetings, haven't seen you at a couple of the things after work, and yeah, I've been traveling quite a bit. So a lot of individuals are questioning my travel, and not just here, but at home and friends, etc. The truth is, I have not been very forthcoming with information regarding some things that have been going on in my life. Many of you have noticed that I've gone out of the country a great deal the last few years. I've been traveling quite a bit, have been working hard at business. While developing a strong relationship with our supplier, it quickly became obvious that they were looking for a partner in the worldwide market that they now possess. They were looking to achieve some of their goals and make it a very beneficial partnership. Some of these things that they wanted to see in their potential candidates were their ability to grow their business, expand their business, put out new product lines like the ones you see before us. So one of the things that I did in January of 2018 is I started a location in Florida. I've been traveling recently to try to open a location out in California or Nevada. I've been searching desperately to find those locations, hire some more employees in the South, and we're growing. In August of 2018, which is about a year and a half ago, I entered into a confidentiality agreement. Some of you may know it's an NDA, like a non-disclosure agreement, while I was overseas in Italy. From that point forward, my hands were kind of tied, and I was unable to discuss any potential opportunities tied with this company. I then began a nearly year-and-a-half interview process. I could not talk to anyone about this, not even my children knew what was happening. As they dwindled their worldwide partners down, their potential partners throughout the world, from 10 to 6 to 2, each quarter I had survived those cuts. I was so sure that this was going to get done in the middle of 2019, when I had hoped that it had already been a year. I could announce it then, notify everyone publicly that I would have to reconsider, continuing to run for re-election for my county board seat. Unfortunately, that time had come and passed. Everything was in place, but the final verdict. So September came along, I pulled my packet, and I began to put everything in order as business as usual. I still remained hopeful, figured that possibly Europe would get the deal done by December. So I had a person or two lined up, possibly, if they wanted to run on the ballot. Began making up stories about, well, my family didn't really want me to run, possibly, I'm hesitant, I've been doing this 20 years. My son started I started when my son was in diapers, and now he's in college. And I just began preparing for the what-ifs. December came along, and it stalled out again in Europe. Still hopeful, I waited kind of to the last day to file my petitions. In late afternoon on January 16th, however, I was notified the decision was coming down and that I should be prepared because it looked really good for me. I began making calls to people like Mr. Mustis, Mr. Pearson, our chair of the Will County Republicans, and I started that I may potentially have to come out off the ballot in the 2020 general, because I knew that I was unopposed in the primary. Unable to share with Mr. Mustis the why, I'm sure it was very hard for him to understand the gravity of the situation. Unfortunately, the 16th marked one day after the last potential day to remove myself from the ballot, according to campaign rules. A couple weeks ago, my wife and I went to Cleveland, the U.S. headquarters for this global company, and learned our fate. I was indeed chosen. 4 days later, I would be back in Cleveland, where my counterpart from Europe would fly in. We would have a signing ceremony, and then we took in a Cavaliers game. And for any of you, I know we're all Bulls fans in here, they have nothing on what the Michael Jordan era was, but that besides the point. We came home, we celebrated, we then notified our children. I've communicated with my family, communicated with my staff at work, and did some real soul searching, because the truth is I absolutely love being here. I love representing District 12. But it is with some sadness, along with all this happiness that we're now finding, that I will be asking our county clerk, Lauren Staley Ferry, to remove me from the ballot after the March 17th primary. Well, I wanted to wait till after the primary and speak to you in March. Unfortunately, I will be traveling, and I will be potentially out of the country again during March. So March is, I'm going to be traveling quite a bit. While my responsibilities will ramp up late in probably about the third quarter, it will certainly take me out of town quite a bit over the next few years. It would be very difficult to campaign, maintain my position here. My constant absence, I think, would be unfair for the residents of District 12. And I never do anything less than 120%, and I think everyone in this room can attest to that. While I cannot go into detail about my newfound role within this global company just yet too much, I will no doubt be missing some meetings. As I stated, it is my full intention to try to finish out my term, and I informed them of that when I was in Cleveland last week. You know, starting on that courthouse 6 years ago has been one of the highlights of my political career that spans all the way back to about 2000, and I want to see it finished. And while I may miss a few meetings and I may be in and out of town, I am still 100% dedicated to the completion of that project. So I'm sure some of you may be happy, some of you may be sad, but hold your powder dry. There's no doubt I'll be diving into this brand new chapter in our life for our family. It'll be a very good thing. It'll be very beneficial to our family. But I won't quite yet be draining the campaign fund, because you never know what the future holds. So I just want to thank you all very much for listening. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Tuminello, and good luck on your new venture. Are there any other, Mr. Brooks?
Madam Speaker, I must say, Ray, you took me by surprise there. However, I'm real happy for you. You didn't have to go overseas to get out of being my vice chair. That wasn't necessary. But I am very happy for you and your family. As you know, Ray, we've had a lot of talks. I'm praying for your future and of your family. And I appreciate what you have done as our vice chair. I hope you can stay on, but I like to have some talk offline if you feel that you're going to be away quite a bit. But congratulations. What you told us so far, and I'm happy for you and your family. God bless you.
Thank you. Okay. Ms. Mueller, comments? No. Okay. Mr. Frizzlone.
And I'll try to make this brief so we can get out of here before noon today. I want to give a few gold stars to a few people. Certainly to Ray for the job he's done. To Margie Woods, I would just say, job well done. And as well to Ron Pullman, job well done, Ron. And, you know, I always talk about what national day this is. It's rather apropos. Today is National Love Your Pet Day.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Mr. Glasgow, job well done as well.
They didn't tell us that
So
beforehand.
we all can tell by today that spring's right around the corner. Spring training's open. Just keep that in your mind, and I think the warm weather will get back to us. No one can complain about the weather we've had, but just, you know, be observant. If you see somebody outside, whether it be human or animal, let's just make sure we take care of them in this tough time, and have a great weekend. Thank you.
Thank you. I have nothing really to add. People have said pretty much everything. We'll miss you, Ray. I know that you're going to be in and out, and we've enjoyed you being here, so wish you all the best going forward. Hope well for you and for your family. We miss Margie. She was a trailblazer. We miss her presence here, not only on this board, but in this community. We'll miss Ron, all that he's contributed over the years. So we will have to raise up a new group of people to take those places and do that work. So get your backs ready and your shoulders ready. Take the wheel. Thank you all. We do have an executive session today, so we are going to go into that for pending litigation. So I need a motion to go into executive session.
Let me call the roll.
Hold on. Mr. Moose's motion,
Motion for the purpose of litigation?
pending litigation.
Second. Second.
Second, Mr. Frizzalone. Madam Clerk.
Frizzalone?
Yes, yes.
Newquist? Ogala? Moostis? Rice? Tyson? Harris? Trainier? Fritz? Mueller? Gold? Van Dyne? Balich? Brooks? Parker? Ventura? Markham? Berkowitz? Cowan? Tumanello? Weigel? Krolitis? Winfrey?
Yes.
22 affirmative.